What is up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are on the rooftop today, and today we are here with Carlos and Aaron of Solemn Vision. Great to be able to talk with you all. Thanks for being here today.
Hey.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
It's so awesome to have you here. We're finally going to be seeing the rise of Despite the Rise of the Sun, the new Solemn Vision album. It's absolutely kick-ass, and I had the privilege of hearing it early. But with the singles that we heard so far, such as Gates and whatnot, is that like maybe a good representation of like what this whole record is going to sound like, or is that just scratching the surface of what's to come?
I would say just scratching the surface.
Yeah. I mean, those songs are obviously like pretty different dynamically, but we experiment a lot, and it's not even on purpose. We just write music, and what comes out comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, those songs, like the ones that you guys heard so far already, they are, just simple as that, just scratching the surface. We have a very eclectic amount of songs on this album, so they are going to have different elements of dark, soft, heavy, fast, slow, but it's going to be us, and it's going to be really cool.
Was there at all like a vision of like let's make a sequel or a continuation of what we heard off of the 2019 self-titled album, or were you all trying to like maybe use this album as to signify like a new beginning in a way?
That's like a two-part thing, because there is one song on this album that actually is like a callback to the first album. So there is like a bit of like a correlation in that aspect, but this one, the whole album itself is like its own beast on its own.
Yeah, it was just really organic, pretty much.
Yeah.
The main difference is that like every single one of us contributed way more on this record, and from like Aaron writing entire songs basically to like me writing lyrics to Caden inputting like sections, and it was just Anthony writing also an entire song basically. It's we kind of sound like a broken record, but it is too many cooks in the kitchen, but we really like it that way, and it's just very organic, and we just make sure that it still like flows. That's really the only thing.
Well, like, I mean, every song, like, you bring up a good point, because it feels like every song, it's still Solemn Vision, but it does play by its own rules in a way. Like, I get a completely different vibe from the Cerebral Labyrinth, which is my favorite song on the new album, by the way. I love that song. But, Gates and Unfinished Tapestry, they all have, like, their own unique rules. Does it ever start off with a preconceived vision? Do you ever go into songwriting mode, I want to create something that sounds like this? Or is it a very throw paint at the wall, seeing what sticks?
It's a little bit of both in a way. That's the like organic part of it, because a lot of us, especially like with Cerebral Labyrinth, for example, when I wrote that one, that was like just a riff that like I just had in my head of like, all right, there's a genre that I like, and I want to make a song within that respected genre, so how can I do it? And it just came out the way it did. When you start like constructing it with everybody else, it came out. That's where I guess the organic part started coming in. So there was already a vision, especially when anybody writes songs, we kind of have like an idea in our head of like, this part is supposed to make the crowd do this, and we want this part to make people feel like this, and then after that part, that's when everything else kind of starts coming together.
Yeah, even like speaking of Cerebral, the intro was literally just taking Aaron's riff, and I was like, what if we just play the first note of that? it's literally the same like rhythm and everything and timing. And then so it was very much like he said, like most of it's organic, and like you said, throwing like just paint at the wall and seeing what sticks. But there's a method to the madness in a sense. Like everyone kind of goes in, like tells us what they like about it, what they don't, and we figure it out from there. But yeah, it's pretty organic. Like it's
Being that other people were incorporating with lyrics as well, like was Solemn Vision ever, have you guys ever flirted with the idea of doing like a concept album, or like was there ever a time with this album where maybe a lyrical idea maybe helped guide your hand with regards to how the music sounded?
No, we didn't have a concept or anything. Again, it was just organic. We just made an album with songs that we wanted to hear ourselves and make ourselves, and like when we did, I guess, have like a moment to sit down and like look at the lyrics and kind of like find, like, I guess, like the common ground, we were able to find one, but it's not like we planned it like that. It just kind of came with the times, you know?
Yeah, it was literally exactly what you said. It was just like we noticed patterns, but it wasn't created intentionally. But also, like, not to speak for Mao, but Mao, there's one song where he wrote like a good chunk of the lyrics and like the instrumentals too, and in that sense, that kind of came to him together, like the lyrics with the music. But I feel like that's like really the only example of that specifically. I think it's really just a lot of times us just writing to write, and then like, yeah, Aaron will sometimes write lyrics afterwards, after the fact, and occasionally there's already existing lyrics and like, oh, it actually matches those riffs. So it's like whatever works really, whatever comes naturally. Sometimes one riff might remind us of someone else's lyrics and vice versa. So
Yeah, like in the case of like when like with like writing with Mao, like he'll have stuff, you know, written down and everything like that, and then he may not have like a section, you know, finished or whatever, but then what I'll do is I'll look at what he already written, and then just kind of continue on that, you know, story, that, you know, that lyrical content, and then just, you know, make my own thing to kind of just fit with what he's got going on. Or, you know, Carlos even did the same thing with Unfinished Tapestry. That was a collaboration between he and I. Right, so like I had, you know, the instrumental was done. I had like one lyric done, but like the rest of the lyrics was Carlos. So that's just one of those things where just, you know, again, everything just organic, you know.
The number one thing that or not the number one, but one of the many interesting things I've noticed about Solemn Vision in a way is, like, you know, a lot of people I could easily see be listening to you guys for the first time and be like, oh, are these guys from Sweden or Finland or Norway or something like that? But then, you know, you, like watching the music video for Gates and, you know, seeing the subway station and, like, you know, New York City in the background, and like you guys are without a doubt a New York band in a way. So like I was just wondering if being a New York City band is something that kind of plays a role in it. Like Dead City Crown has sort of like mentioned that, where like, you know, they're a New Jersey band, so, you know, they're not writing about the forest or the wilderness. They're, you know, have like the sort of city vibe behind it. So does that sort of play a role, or do you guys wish you were Vikings?
definitely not that.
Well, just by default, being a New York-based artist is already going to put a chip on your shoulder, you know. So for us, being like a band from, like, you know, New York, you know, the boroughs, and, you know, in my case, Long Island, it's a thing where we already feel the, not pressure, but like, I guess, the motivation to do what we do and then some. You know, like,
There's a lot of existing legends from New York.
Yeah, it's a lot of existing legends from New York, you know. And I always say too, like, a lot of bands, you know, come to New York, where bands from New York want to get out of New York and then, you know, explore. But you can do a lot just by just being here in New York as is. So yeah, it's just something that we are just used to, you know. We just know that being in New York has a lot going on, so it just makes sense to just, you know, keep riding that wave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, there's a little bit of a sense of pride with like so many like transplants just coming to New York and like taking over, who might have connections or like who are just like doing their thing, and like it feels good when like we're all from New York, even if like love it or hate it, you know, like we all have our own relationship with the cities that we come from, but like it feels like, it just feels real. Like it's just like everyone in the band is like from here, has like their own story, and it's like New York is just a big melting pot, and that's what we are. So it's just, we take influences from everywhere. We discover music from everywhere, even though like old school hardcore is like still like, you know, in our veins, and like old school like slam and death metal, same thing. We also just have like different experiences and different influences. So.
And it's definitely present. I could definitely see that on not just this album, but the previous one as well. And I wanted to ask, because between the last album and this one, you both have been fairly busy. You definitely used the pandemic time wisely, because, Aaron, I know you just recently put out your split with Viserion with Telach Vovin, and that's been keeping you busy as well. Carlos, I know you've been playing with After Us, which is also kick-ass. I know that Mauricio, he did a stint with Breath of the Moor, so he's been keeping busy as well. And Caden playing with Sorrow Seed like he always has and whatnot. Anthony is Anthony. But is there just has like experimenting with other projects maybe opened up new ideas on what you could bring to Solemn Vision?
Yeah, actually. It's definitely like in case of like Telok Velvet, I've definitely like gotten ideas where, I think like, all right, if I write a riff, it's gonna sound good for like Telok Velvet or it's gonna sound good for Solemn Vision, because Telok Velvet's black metal and they're like, so.
Oh no.
Okay.
You're good.
So, yeah, they have like a lot of like, black metal stuff going on in Solemn Vision as is. So it's like it would be kind of cool to like add little elements of both bands to the mix. There's like even songs with like with Telok Velvet that that they're writing now that they've even taken influences from Solemn Vision. So it's cool. At least our bands kind of like feed off each other like that, even though they don't really play with each other. Like Solemn Vision has not played a show with Telok Velvet since like before like the name change, the official name change, and I was doing double duty for that. And then all the songs that we've written like on this newer album, Greg he did a great job with his writing. He's gotten so much better. I'm really impressed. And yeah, there are definitely elements that he's taken from being influenced and everything like that, and I'm sure that he would attest to that too. And it's the same could happen with us, depending on how far we go with the writing process for the next album. So
Yeah, with After Us, it's funny because one thing we say in Solemn Vision is like we take the music seriously, but we try not to take ourselves too seriously. With After Us, it's definitely like they take everything a little seriously. So
Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, you guys are just as depressing as the music you make. I had to say that.
yeah, they're but it's cool because like After Us has like a separate aspect, just some more drama behind it and like theatrics and like they have a lot of like orchestrations throughout like all of their tracks, and like that's even something that we used on this new album. Like our first album was super raw. The second Solemn Vision album, it's like we added some of that, and I'm not saying that came from After Us, but like definitely like for me personally, like I definitely got accustomed to like playing to backing tracks, and like so that's at least helping me with like the new Solemn Vision material. And like we're gonna like once the album's released, we're probably gonna do a whole backing track and have a whole system, but we made sure that our music was still raw enough to be played without the backing tracks, and to if something ever fails live and shit happens, we don't want it to take away from the show, and we want people to still have just as good of an experience without them as they do with it. So like so that's just a cool thing that I got for my personal, it's just another tool in my case, whatever, like my belt.
And Telok Velvet is very vocally demanding too, because there's two vocalists, for that band. But it's like there could be times where like one of us will not be able to do it, and one of us got to hold down like the whole set. And it definitely gives like a good workout on the face for sure. Because if I said the other thing, it probably would have sounded really sus. So yeah.
There was kind of like a throwback question I wanted to ask, going back to the old days, because you guys have come such a long way since I first started seeing you guys in 2016 when you were called Spectral Voices back in the day. But I was just wondering if maybe going from Spectral Voices to Solemn Vision, do you think that maybe with that name change and who you guys are now and how much you progressed, has maybe how you portray yourself or the meaning of this band has even changed with who you are now versus back then?
Yeah, I personally think that with this name change, it definitely did come like a bit of a new attitude. Like the music was always going to, be, what it was. But, as we've, gotten older and through all this pandemic stuff and all these shows we've been playing, I guess, building like this callus from being on the road and stuff. the vision, is there for us, and and that's like, even just in that too, it's like it's one of those things like just never really a pun intended, but like we have kind of made this into something that we can see ourselves doing, and just the name just fits perfectly for what we've been trying to do.
Yeah, honestly, it's with the rebranding, it gave us a chance to kind of just take ourselves more seriously. Obviously, like, we still joke around and everything, but we're a much more responsible band, if I'll say that, and like just playing our cards more correctly instead of just like putting them all out on the table at once. We're working smarter, and like before the name change, we did like a 3-week tour, and like it was incredible, but like we spent way too much money. We went on hotels, like did all this stuff, and like we definitely lost a ton of money. But and like I said, I wouldn't take it back for the world, just because like we had really good experiences and moments, and we met some awesome people. But like we're not just doing that. What we did was we built ourselves up. We started doing weekend runs in like the tri-state area, New England, Massachusetts, and we really built a base in like the Northeast in general, where like we go to Connecticut, we go to Philly, we go to Massachusetts, there's people waiting for us, and we have like a base, and we're actually like, there's tangible growth versus just like having a bunch of streams or something. So like I think it gave us a chance to just work smarter and just like really do things the right way this time, and like gave us like a little restart, and like to keep the momentum going.
There's a question I have specifically for each of you. I'll start with you, Carlos. Being the drummer, this is a new question I like to ask drummers, because some people assume because it's a very rhythmic-driven instrument and there's no melody conveyed behind it, it's not a very emotionally driven instrument. But as somebody who's seen you play with Solemn Vision, with After Us, with Fear is Dead, seeing you fill in for Dishonest Escape, I could tell you put in a lot of energy and a lot of like your own emotional experiences into the kit. So please discredit that whole theory that drums aren't emotional.
Yeah, actually, thank you. That's actually pretty good. I do try to do that, actually. Like I try to compliment the song in general. Like, yeah, like there's plenty of times where I am a little too show-offy and I'm not in the pocket as much as I could be, but I like to work with the dynamics that are given to me within the song. I've never been like a person that was super into like lyrics. Like, I don't know the words to my favorite songs, but like I pay attention to how the vocals as an instrument makes me feel, and like everything else working in tandem. So like when I drum, like if Solemn Vision has a soft moment, like I'm trying to play softer, like physically, like not just like in a robotic way. I try to like have some kind of like fluidity to my playing, and then when we get intense, I give it my all, and I go a little ham sometimes, and like, and it's worth it. And
Go a little ham sometimes.
no, this is more of a protective thing, but it was just it's also not like necessarily intentional in my writing. It is, but when I play live, it's drumming. I mean, it's the corniest shit to say, but it's my therapy. Like I'm not someone who really talks about my feelings, and it's not like there's any like machismo or any reason. I just don't, like, I'm open. Like if someone asks me, I'll tell them straight up what I'm going through. But like when I'm drumming, that's when I really just like I feel like I can let loose. When I drum, everyone in the crowd is just like, it's like a cloudy, out of focus filter, and like I just see my drum kit, and I'm in my own world. So.
And Aaron, one thing I've always admired about you as a vocalist is that not only do you have great thought-provoking lyrics and you are in multiple projects, you have so many different usages of your voice too. Like, 1 minute I feel like I'm listening to some like old school black metal band, then the next minute I feel like I'm listening to Deicide, then the next minute I feel like I'm listening to Killswitch Engage or Shadows Fall. Like, I feel like you really go all along the spectrum vocally. Does a different usage of your voice maybe express a different side of yourself, or maybe express maybe a different persona even?
Yeah, because when I do my vocals, depending on how it's written, I'll give that part its appropriate part. Like if a song has like a soft part, for example, I might do like some whisper, like Insomnium-esque, spoken word stuff. Or like if the song has like a really chuggy part, I'm gonna do like some death growls and everything. But like it's not like I'm changing like my persona, but when I do execute my vocals, I do picture myself as like a type of creature of some sort, because I don't want to sound like a human per se all the time, like but I definitely want to sound like different. So like I'll take influences from like Travis Ryan, from Cow Decapitation, or Joe from Gojira, depending on what it was, or like even back when I was still writing with the Reluctant Worm, I had like some Behemoth Deicide-ish overlapping vocals and stuff, and I still even do that now to this day, even on this next album, because I like layered vocals; those are pretty cool too. And that's the other part too. Like when I record certain like vocals in the studio, I do try to replicate it now live. So like I do like this undertone thing that most vocalists do now, where it's like it kind of sounds like two voices in one. So I try to like at least take what we do in the studio and do it live as best as I can, and then go from there.
Yeah. Shout out to the FDNY right out there.
Mm-hmm.
They're either they're putting out a fire or they're trying to get through that next red light. But either way, support the FDNY.
I don't know if it's smart to say this now with the alarms and stuff, but like I want to touch on like his one thing I like about Aaron's vocals is also like his rhythm and cadence. Like he really knows how to like fit it to a song really well, and like in some unique ways. So like I remember like for Tapestry, sometimes I try to accent him and like just like make those like rhythm and cadence like kind of shine and like cut through, because like the chorus it's like you took the threads, so like I'm playing and I like accent it with my crashes, as opposed to like the norm, which is accenting the guitars and like the like one or whatever. So it's like there are like little moments there where I'm just like if I hear something unique, I'll try to like fixate on that and try to like bring it out more than usual.
You took the threads too. Those lyrics talk about your music being ahead of your time, man. Like you really predicted that phenomenon. So excellent work. There's no doubt that Mark Zuckerberg was taking inspiration from Solemn Vision.
I didn't even think about that. I'm totally good. All right.
And I have a few more questions for you. But the next question is because like, and we kind of touched upon this earlier, because I know you've unequivocally have called yourselves numerous times melodic death metal, but I wouldn't just pigeonhole you in that. Like there's times where I could easily call you just a straight death metal band. There's progressive elements in there. There's avant-garde. There's all these different styles. Can you maybe see Solemn Vision really going even more experimental, having already an eclectic sound as it is? Because I could almost see you guys like do a song that goes along the lines of like maybe like an Unearth or something like that too,
Yeah, we could definitely get more experimental. Not like in like the tech death metal or like Animals as Leader realm, but we could definitely experiment with different stuff for sure.
Didn't we have the idea of like bringing back like Praying and then doing like an EP where like every song is just some like wild ass genre that like we don't usually play? just like and just make an EP with like a hardcore song, a power metal song, a fucking like grindcore song, and just be like name it just like because we fucking felt like it, and like just because
the cool thing, like, because we can play like those genres of music if we wanted to, right?
and like some of us listen to that shit too,
Yeah,
like
exactly. So like we can play it, but like Solemn Vision sounds like what it is. So we know that we don't sound like the typical melodic death metal band too. Like that's what we call ourselves, progressive melodic death metal.
Yeah, we're self-aware.
Yeah, but it's not like we're trying to play the most like intricate technical thing, or at least on purpose.
We just keep it interesting, I think.
Yeah, you just keep it interesting and just keep it engaging. Like this new album is gonna be a little more catchier than the last one, but
like I think there was actually one song that Caden had pretty much completely done, and I had the drums mostly like 90% or like 80% written for it, but we decided to not have it on this record just because it was gonna be a little too left field from everything else. But like that's something maybe for that EP. It was just like a heavy ass progressive, like not, I don't want to say tech death because it wasn't like mathy at all, but like it was definitely like it was intense. So like it's so things like that, like we might just like songs that we shelved because like the one thing, like I said, like we write very organically. We just like write whatever comes to us, but we definitely make sure that what we're putting on the album flows, and like song to song goes into each other in a cohesive way. So like if there's something that's like way too left field, we do try to like rein it in a little bit, like just because it's like we want you to enjoy listening to the whole album, not just individual songs. So.
I will buy lunch for whoever kills the spotted lanternfly that just went behind that pole right there. But Carlos is going. Oh, did it disappear? Do you just randomly carry like a tissue in your pocket?
Bro, allergies are real.
Oh shit. Oh, should I crop that out?
Yo, Aaron just stole my free lunch.
Aaron, we'll talk after.
That was like an alley-oop though, so I don't know. Maybe he could buy us each a drink. Huh?
Yeah, fair enough. I'm debating if I should keep that on camera now.
Yeah, why not?
So metal.
Obviously, edit it out so it's not like awkward and spacey. But
Yeah.
We're gonna get like copyrighted or like sued by people who like said we killed a bug.
no, we're heroes, bro. That's a lanternfly.
And the last two questions I have is one of them is circling back to the lyrical standpoint or maybe just the musical inspiration in general. Because is Solemn Vision's music, is it always coming from a very personal spot? Is it always coming from an internal source of inspiration? Or is it more observant, your songwriting process, and like the world around you is more or less sort of like that?
Both. There's a lot of both. Like for one, there are songs that do talk about like I guess internal personal struggles, but there are songs where like I've heard where like I just thought it would sound good for like a movie or a video game or something like that. So like it really depends on like what the song sounds like. Does the song sound like it needs a personal touch, or does it sound like it needs a nerdy, fantasy touch?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like instrumentally, there's a lot of like ourselves that we put into it. But when it comes to the lyrics, it's kind of whatever fits. Like sometimes someone might have existing lyrics, like Anthony actually with his own song. It just happened that his lyrics that he wrote for something else, a poem that he wrote, fit on the song that he wrote. Just like total coincidence, and like he just like made it like line up. Sea of Trees. Oh, wow. And then so like sometimes there's stuff where it just kind of organically happens like that. I hate to keep harping on the same word, but there's a Dead to the Wraith. It's like Sleepy Hollow, Headless Horseman. Like it's not like there's nothing emotional about the lyrics, but like when we were writing it, that one was mostly like Mao and I, and it was just we were just jamming.
It sounded like when I came in and wrote the lyrics for that song, it sounded like a horse galloping, and so I just thought like the Headless Horseman, because why not, So that was my thought process on that one. And like the opening track, Follow from the Flame, that had a different lyric. That had different lyrics, different title too, and that song became a little bit more personal than how it was before. But it's not like I was trying to, I guess, I was like going through something. I need to get this out. It's just that this happened to be something I can write about.
Yeah, like with Tapestry, he wrote like all the riffs, and then I had these lyrics that like I'm never really written lyrics before. I had these lyrics that I was just like, hey, did you have lyrics yet for this song? And he was just like, I have like for this verse. I was just like, okay, because check this out. Like I was just like, I don't know. I thought maybe it might fit like with sonically what like Tapestry does, and then like what the lyrics said. And then he was just like, it actually fits with the lyric that I wrote. And he was just like, we could just keep it. So like that's pretty much how the lyrics came for that song. So like there's definitely just nothing in this band is planned out as far as the music goes. Nothing's like, we never sit down like, okay, we're gonna write a proggy song, okay, we're gonna write an intense song. It's usually just either him jamming by himself, Caden jamming by himself, us jamming together, and it just happens.
Bonus question: when you're all going over the lyrics, how much of a grammar freak is Carlos when analyzing the lyrics?
He's not. Caden is.
Caden actually is our editor. I only do that to give you shit, Alex. But no, Caden's we like handing off stuff to that. Caden's the robot in the band. He's a machine. He's technical, and like he fucking transcribed all the guitar parts for all of our songs in case we need to fill in because he lives in Vegas, as most people know. So like he's the guy we send all the like clerical like fucking double check this before I send it out kind of thing too.
And he likes doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I don't know anybody who would like doing that, but hey, shout out to Caden. He does exist, in case you were wondering. And the final question I wanted to ask is, because in addition to also being very talented artists in this scene, you're very supportive of the scene, as you guys have also launched Visionary Booking. I've been to plenty of Visionary Booking shows. I've had the privilege of seeing Averse numerous times under Visionary Booking. I've had the privilege of seeing a lot of cool bands. And, you know, with the now that's what I call Melodic Death Metal Fest being absolutely a kick-ass time, has working in the scene, in the booking realm of things, and sort of like behind the scenes, served as a source of inspiration behind your music?
You can tell.
Real quick. So actually, so pretty much the way Visionary Booking happened is it got to a point where like we were playing shows, we bring 60 people out and get like $100, like, and it was just like, fuck that. And so we kind of cut the middleman, and I started booking our shows, like Solemn Vision shows, and like we started setting up bills with our friends and stuff like that. And then it was actually Aaron's idea to make a booking agency with that, and we just like bounced off of that and started booking shows, kind of as like a karma project, and also just like, why the fuck not?
It just made sense, you know. There's so many bands that get just like, you know, messed up, just like from just promoters not communicating and such. And, you know, the gatekeeping thing, too, is just, like, it just made sense to, like, you know, answer to that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we played, when we did our first tour, we played Chicago the Monday after Chicago Open Air. And, like, the promoter put us on at, like, midnight or something. Like, we were dead last out of 4 bands. And we played till, like, it was our first time there. It was our first tour. We didn't have a ton of shit going on, so we played to the bartender and the promoter, like, and it was just like, we don't want that to happen to like bands that are coming to New York. So we both don't have time to book shows on a regular, but like what we do with Visionary specifically help out bands like us, like ourselves, who are coming from other cities. They want to play Brooklyn, that are doing their own DIY tour and they want to fill a date. Like, we got your back. If a band just released an EP or an album and they want to play New York same weekend, got your back kind of thing. So that's pretty much what the main focus is, helping out other people. And the festival came through as kind of like a trade-off with pretty much everyone that we brought onto the festival were bands we played with during that tour. We ended our 3-week tour in New York. In Philly, we played with IATT and brought them to the festival. In Connecticut, we played with Sunseeker. Massachusetts, we were supposed to play with Ice Giant, but they had to drop from that show. But yeah, so it was just us giving back to the people who helped us out in other cities.
And on the topic of now that's why I call Melodic Death Metal, yeah, we might have to change that name.
I'm trying to get sued.
Yeah, Carlos recently
I witnessed that conversation, and I'll crop that part out of the interview.
Yeah, no, we can let people.
You can leave it.
We can let people know that we might have to
happens.
change that name, guys, because we don't want to get sued. But you know, yeah, it's out there, so they can't sue us now. But
little tidbit though, that was really cool and happened completely, like not on purpose at all, but like every single band on that bill was like had people of color in them, and like that's kind of cool. But it's just like total coincidence, and it's like people like to talk shit about like metal and it's like very like not like, I mean, it goes back to the whole gatekeeping thing. It's just like that it's like a white genre and stuff, but like it's no one gives a shit. like
I really don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I wasn't even paying attention to that. Truth
yeah,
be told.
no, it was homegirl pointed it out to me, and I was like, that was not planned at all. Like, it was just like,
yeah, I was just, you know, my thing is that the music has evolved as we have people. So to me, it was just playing, you know, a melodic death metal festival with some really kick-ass bands.
Yeah.
You know,
Every band on that bill, I sadly missed like I think like the first 3 or something like that. But like every band was just so freaking good. I mean, I'm obsessed with Ice Giant now. They have a new album coming out. Be sure to check that out. Ayat.
Just dropped a single.
Yep. Ayat. I don't think it's IATT. I think.
IATT, they used to be called I Am the Trireme.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Learned something new today. Ayat is just incredible. I loved Oak, Ash, and Thorn. That was a great discovery at that show. So huge shout out. Thank you for not only being involved in the scene but exposing us to so many awesome bands. So
That's what it should have been about, man. You know, I can tell you, like, you know, even before joining them, one thing that, like, I noticed is that a lot of platforms or promoters and such never really, like, follow through with paying it forward or giving back to, like, you know, the scene that kind of put them where they are. You know what I mean? Like, there are interviews where I've done where, like, they'll ask me to, like, shout out local bands, but they don't even use that take in their clips or anything like that. So when things like that are just constantly happening, somebody's got to do something, and so why not us, you know?
yeah. Oh man, I'm probably gonna. Well, the thing is, I probably have to crop out all the other bands I just did. No, I'm kidding.
No, this guy fucking. Also, he's the biggest supporter of the New York scene too. Like he'll be interviewing like a giant artist, a massive artist, and just like fucking shove in like this tiniest little shout out, like, oh yeah, so like I noticed like, you know, you played this and blah, 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 and there's other local bands in New York, blah, 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 and he'll name like 5 bands on top of his head, just,
And not for
just
nothing.
like fucking slick and just like promoting local bands on like big name interviews.
With all these moves you've been making now, I just gotta say, I really appreciate the time that you take to even do this. With all the moves you've been making, dude, like, this means a lot.
Hey,
you know?
hey, you guys were the first friends I made in this scene. So, and you know, I can't remember who, but if it wasn't for that scene, I wouldn't have started Heavy New York. So, you know, I can't remember. I can't remember who was it again?
I don't know. Some guy saw you interviewing bands for Alto Music and was like, "Yo, do this shit on a regular, bro."
Yeah.
Some gay.
Yeah, yeah. I think he was the former drummer of Fear Is Dead. I wonder what happened to him, but
Fuck that guy.
yeah, exactly.
Good band. Fuck the drummer.
So before we go, I want to thank you both so much for your time today and for such an awesome conversation. Just anything else with Solemn you'd like to promote in terms of upcoming shows? Plug the Solemn Vision Finnemore Viserion show. Who else am I missing on that?
Winter Nights? Did you say Winter Nights? Yep.
Okay.
So there's that. I also, before we, shout out to Billy from Westfall, right? Billy and I got some music coming out together, right? So that's going to be a thing. So I don't know when this is coming out, but
By Monday, the latest.
okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah, got some really cool stuff, something else diverse. Not black metal, it's not melodic death metal, it's a different genre, and it's going to be really kick-ass. I'm really looking
rock?
forward to it. Yeah.
It's actually a Motley Crue cover band.
We're doing a Nickelback cover. This is how
You are a talented motherfucker. I'm pretty sure you could do a great Chad Kroger knockoff.
Don't mess with me, dude. I'll totally do it.
I think I have that on footage somewhere.
So yeah, we have my birthday show coming up on August 25th. My birthday. Man, I don't even know when my own birthday. Guys, I'm done.
Well, his birthday's the 24th, so like, but the show is the 26th.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a long night yesterday. So yeah, my birthday is on the 24th, but the show is on the 26th. It's happening at the Meadows. I work there, so come hang out. And that's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be with Viserion, Winter Nights, the reunion of Finnemore, one time only, and us.
Yeah, it's funny. It's such a throwback because like Winter Nights is like the other like melodic death metal band in the scene that's like been around for a while with like European kind of influences, and like as Solemn Vision, I don't think we've ever played a show with them yet.
We've always talked about it, and when
happened.
and it was like Winter Nights was one of like, the first melodic death metal bands that I ever heard of outside of when I was with Reluctant Mortem. So there was like the other band. I'm like, oh, there's other bands that play the genre. And then fast forward, every time I even see Jeremy, I was always telling him like, yo, when we playing a show, and now we're doing it. You know,
It's finally happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be really cool. As far as
Finnemore, just legends.
yeah,
you know?
Finnemore. My first show with Spectral Voices, when I first joined like the band, was actually with Finnemore. Also, Finnemore was on that bill, so it's just like full circle. and also Finnemore, the vocalist is the vocalist in After Us. So
And a lot of those members also went to form Philahin Fall, who are absolutely kick-ass as well. So shout out to them.
Fuck yeah, I filled in on them for I filled in on drums for them for like this little run. But so yeah, as far as what I got going on after us, we actually, I don't know if it's announced. I think it was just announced, but we're playing August 12th, the day of the Gojira Mastodon Lorna Shore show in Coney Island. We're playing the brewery right before that show. So I'm going to have stitches in still, so it's going to be cool. I'll figure it out. It's fine. If I die, I die. So yeah, that's going to be cool. It's a free show, Coney Island. And then, of course, we have our new record coming out. For the U.S. shop, you can find it on Season of Mist website. All of our socials at Solemn Vision or /Solemn Vision. We keep it really simple and easy to find us. And yeah, just I hope you guys pre-order the record, and I hope you guys dig it.
They will dig it. It's an absolutely kick-ass one. Thank you guys so much. Everybody, Solemn Vision, Despite the Rise of the Sun. Be sure to pick that up. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.